All right, guys, back with you for part two here, the large size notes that I have in my collection. We're just going to jump right into where I was. Go ahead and back and check out that part one. I'll leave the link below for you guys, and you can see what I started with. So recommend you starting that and then come back and check this video out afterwards. But anyhow, let's get back to it. I'll go ahead and flip forward here. A couple of notes. I already showed you that. I showed you the chief notes, and all right, here we are. So next in the series we got is a 1923 silver certificate, another very popular note set to collect. Very easy typeset to put together because it consists of two notes. The 1923 silver, this one was nicknamed the horse blanket for the large size. Significantly larger in diameter of the larger in the entire size of the notes that we have currently. This is the last year that it was issued. Last series, I should say. These things were still printed all the way up until quite some time later on. But 1928 was the first year issue of the small size notes, which I'll talk about here. I do have one example that we're going to end with for this part of the video. But anyhow, so these are very popular. You can get these super cheap. This one I paid about 75 bucks for in an auction, and it's graded AE 55. A very nice example of one. Highest grade of a note that I have, just because this is the first note that I bought. Unsure if I was interested in notes still. I went slow and kind of learned about them, and then ended up pulling the trigger and getting this bad boy. And ever since then, I've been hooked. So really, really cool. Exact same design pretty much as the 1923 red seal that I showed you guys earlier in part one. Just a few different things, again, silver certificate up top. It's payable, $1 silver there. Imagine that, you can bring this thing in and exchange it for a Morgan or a peace dollar. Pretty cool indeed. Actually, you're able to do that all the way up until 68, I think it was, when they took out the ability to exchange these silver certificates into actual hardbound money at the time. So, and these are still valid though. Yeah, you can't redeem it from silver. Actually, any of the notes you see in here, even the 1869 legal tender I mentioned in the first video, all of them are still redeemable for face value. Now, would you go ahead and do that? No, but pretty cool that you have that much backing by the government still. That's the one thing I will say about the dollar. Lots of trust still. And then the complement in the series, one of my favorite notes is the 1923 $5 silver certificate, a single type series. This one's nicknamed the porthole, as you guys can probably see why with President Lincoln. I just love his portrait there. Such a cool note. And I got a nice problem-free example. Very, very expensive note. Again, did an auction for it, and I won it. It's a VF20. A lot of these notes you guys see here, guys, I'm not a rich dude. A lot of it's from the silver and stuff that I had, just random rounds and stuff like that I ended up selling. And I had no sets to complete with those, and just kind of sitting there in my safe. I said, you know what, I'll go ahead and exchange some of these things for this newfound hobby that I have, and I'm happy I did. Sold, and silver was almost 19 bucks an ounce. And I didn't get the best of prices at some places, got better prices at other places, but whatever. In the end, I was able to use the money to reinvest into things like this, and I'm happy. Happy I did. Some of y'all might disagree with me, and that's okay. But again, I'm a numismatist at first, investor second, if you would. So, really cool. Love this note here. This one's one of my favorite notes. And then here's the reverses of the both. Again, the cogwheel design and the $1 bill. Heavily adopted the 1928 funny backs, which you'll see this design here, which is kind of where they got it from. And I'll show you that on the next little small size $1. And then here's the reverse of the $5. It's got the nice seal there. Those rays is coming out. I really like this design, guys. Absolutely really like this design. A lot of people disagree that it's, super artistic per se, but it is still a very, very popular note. They sell, they liquidate beyond, easy. And then moving up here, another very, very popular note. This one's up there in the top 10 of the 100 most popular collected notes in American currency. This here is a 1906 graded VF20 from PMG. I went with the 1906 instead of the 1922, and I'm happy I did. You guys can see the series number there. I think it's a gem. I think it's kind of a hidden gem right now. And, the 1905 is a Technicolor, so that one is like the ultimate, but very, very expensive. In a grade like this, you're looking $4,000 or $5,000 for it. But basically the only difference it had was that the background tint is a lot more yellowish, goldish in color. The X's, the serial number, and the seal here were all red. This 20, the Ingold coin and stuff was colored in as gold color, and that was kind of the big differences. But this is a very, very popular note, and you'll see why. Typically from the backside, which the Technicolor note, the 1906 and the 1922 are all the same. There is no difference on them, but I think this one's also undergraded. It is an older version of the PMG holders, Mylar holders, so I'm assuming that if I were to send this in again, it would probably upgrade at least to VF25 and up even from there. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's got some folds in it, but that doesn't distract from the actual price, or excuse me, the actual grade of it. And you'll see on the back, the color that it retains on this gold back is absolutely insane. All right, moving on. National currency, Federal Reserve banknote. This one was after the adoption in 1913 of the Federal Reserve Act, which is still the present day way that we have our currency system in the United States, with the 12 Federal Reserve banks. This one's in Kansas City. Another popular note, it was in 1915 they started issuing them, but there was no $1 denomination, and Old George is only on the $1 note. So 1918 series, which this is the, 1916 series. Apologize, it is 1918 series. Yeah, right there. Anyways, this, so this one right here was the first of the $1 issues for them, and the only one with George on it. So didn't really care about the bank that I was going with. Just wanted a nice example, problem free. And I like the reverses of these things. I mean, they got all kinds of stuff going on here with the J designation for the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. Different signatures of the cashier and the president, or actually this one has a governor. The treasurer and everything else going on here. So there's a ton of information on these notes, and they're a little busy if you ask me, but the reverses definitely make up for it. And there you go. Labeled the Flying Eagle for reasons of that. One of my favorite eagles on any type of our currency. Just super cool looking. Very, very cool. And as I alluded to, why I think this thing's undergraded, check that out. Check that out. For a VF20, come on, give me a break. That thing is well over a VF20. Look at that reverse. Beautiful color. Excellent. Even some embossing still on it. If you take it out of the sleeve and look at it, just an absolute gorgeous piece. I mean, these things take people's breath away when they look at them. They totally catch them off surprise. And yeah, I mean, just, look at this thing. Insane. You imagine if our money was still printed like that, and you can take this in and redeem it for a double gold eagle. You imagine that? Wouldn't that be something? All right, the last of the two notes I'm going to go through here is the only fractional currency I own. This is a 25-cent piece. Fractional currencies, you guys probably have known in the Civil War, the shortage of coinage because of the concern for economic stability and stuff in the war occurred, and so there's no coins and stuff to go around and pay for things such as postage. And so what they ended up doing was printing money, in a sense, on they use stamps, they use tokens, a whole different slew of things. But fractional currency was one of them to help assist with the shortage of currency, of coinage that we had. And so this one, I'm not a big fan of them because a lot of people, the fractional currencies, Washington's on a whole different, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them or so. Different designs, but I only wanted this one particularly because it's the only one that still it doesn't have an obligation of paying as a stamp per se, or postage currency. And so a lot of stamp collectors also collect these things, and so I wanted this as more so because of that fact, right? So it's the only one that doesn't have an obligation on there as or mentioning some type of postage currency or something along those lines. It's basically as if you're taking it as a quarter. So pretty cool. A more popular design too of all the different fractionals with Washington on it. Pretty highly collected. And then lastly is the first of the 1928 series, a small size series here. This is a Red Seal legal tender or United States note, same thing. But these only about 200 something thousand of these printed. It is a funny back. It is very similar to the 1928 silver certificate funny back, which I'll show you in the next video. That's going to take me some time to post all my small size series. This is the only one I have grade in my small size series, but anyways, these things only circulated in Puerto Rico, interestingly enough. So low minted or low printing. Not a lot of them survived, and that's why they're pretty dang expensive, believe it or not. Again, VF25 graded. I like these Red Seal 1928 series. I have the 1, the 2, the 5, and the, that's it. All there is the 1, the 2, and the 5, and I have all of them examples, but the Washington one is the most expensive of them all. So super, super cool. You can see the debt obligation there. There's legal tender at its face value for all debts, public and private, except duties on imports and interest on the public debt. So why did we go to this in 1928? Well, because our economy was booming more right before the Depression. We had more currency, and we needed more currency, I should say, within the economy to pay for things. And so instead of printing these big old bills here, we can have the same size sheet and print a lot more of them on that sheet. And so the federal government figured that out, and it was a way for them to save a lot of different money. And so that's what they did. And that's how we got the small size currency that is still in practice today. All right, quickly I'll show you guys the back here. You can see the difference of the two, right? Look at the small size and the big flying eagle behind it. Pretty significant size difference, but that's our funny back. Like I said, we derived that design there from the 1923 legal tender and also the 1923 silver certificate cogwheel design. Labeled, nicknamed the funny back, typically because it's a 1 written there. Thought it was a monopoly money. I actually like it. I think it's pretty cool, but anyhow, that's the reverse of that. And then again, the reverse of the fractional currency that I showed you guys before. This was printed by the American banknote. That's what I was mentioning in video 1, that there is this was the second group of individuals. So you know that this was before the late 1800s, when the Bureau of Engraving and Printing took over for all of our currency, that they still do so today. Anyhow, so that concludes the large size and some other random pieces of fractional currency that I have. I'm going to take a little bit of time to do the small size currency. So none of them are graded. They're all raw, which I do have an appreciation for it. At first I was kind of like, I'll just get type examples to complete the set, but I'm actually happy that I put together a pretty nice set, and so I couldn't be more stoked to share that with you guys too in the future. But hopefully you liked it. These 2 videos, if you haven't checked out part 1, go back and check that out, and toss me down a comment and let me know what you guys think. You guys collecting currency? Maybe this, persuaded some of y'all to do such a thing. So anyhow, until next time, Silver Surfer out.